Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar hosted by DIY Guru. Thank you all for joining us for this insightful session titled From Plinth to Paramount. The future of EV careers starts with system level thinking. As we know, the world is rapidly moving towards electric mobility, and the EV ecosystem towards extend far beyond just vehicles. It includes battery technology, charging infrastructure, vehicle software, energy management systems, and service networks. All are working together to shape the future of transportation and mobility. Today's session is designed to help us understand how careers are evolving in this rapid growth of EV industry and why the system level thinking is becoming very essential part of this space. So it's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Mr. Harshit Vajpayee. Mr. Harshit currently serves as head of service network, where he plays a key strategic role in building and strengthening EV service ecosystems and ensuring operational excellence in electric mobility solutions. With valuable industry experience in EV domain, he brings practical insights into how the EV industry is evolving and what are the skill trends the next generation of engineers and professionals need to succeed. So we are delighted to have him with us today, share his perspective on the future of EV careers, industry expectations, and system level understanding of electric mobility. So before we begin, I would request all the participants to please fill out the attendance form that I have already shared in the chat box so that we can keep the track of your participation. Now, without taking much more time, I would like to invite Mr. Harshit. Everyone, please mute their mic. I would like to invite Mr. Harshit Vajpayee to take the session forward and share his insight with all of us. Over to you, sir.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Shreyansh, for that wonderful intro, and all of you guys who have taken out time on a Saturday evening. It tells me that all of you guys are here to learn something about the industry, about the path as to how you can get into the industry, and what all takeaways you can have from my experiences, and how I can help you just through a bit of nuances, how that industry has grown and what has helped me got here, right? So I'd probably keep it in English, Shreyansh. Would that be better, or do you want me to keep it bilingual? Or if there are any, let's say, both English and Hindi, what do you suggest?
So, as our audience include both types of candidates, so it would be preferred that if you use both English and Hindi, that would be more convenient to them, right?
Got it.
Yeah,
Got
thank
it. So it will be a mix of both English and English that all of you guys can take. So I'll just keep this session very limited. I'll probably have about 30-40 minutes of some of the slides that myself and DIY have created, and then we can jump on to the last 10-15 minutes of quick question round, and then we can call it a day. So, all right, just get started. Yeah, is my screen visible to all of you guys?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Perfect, perfect,
Yes, sir.
perfect, perfect, guys.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, sir.
So, from Plinth to Paramount is what I thought that I'll talk about today. So, Plinth means like the very base, the foundation, where a lot of learners, probably you are today in some walk of life, or maybe about 10 years back, I was, as to how and where should I enter the industry or which industry to start with, right? So प्लिंथ का मतलब है कि जब आपको अपना बेस थोड़ा थोड़ा सेटअप आप कर रहे हैं, and paramount is when let's say you have actually reached somewhere, and वहां पे reach करने के लिए what all path that you have taken, what all different challenges that you have had to
Sir,
face.
excuse me, sir. Sorry for the interrupt. Will you explain, please, in English, sir? I didn't know about the Hindi. if it is possible.
Okay, so I'll just sure. I'll just
Thank you.
keep it
Thanks a lot.
entirely in English then.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So Plinth to Paramount, like I was trying to say, is when you think about starting from scratch, where your foundation is still a little bit undecided, and Paramount is when you kind of know that where you are at and how you want to unfold, right? So something about me, guys. Uh, for me, I think the best part was to join this industry when EV was still in a very nuanced state. That was back in 2017-18, if I remember it correct. So what I started was very unique in India. I had the opportunity to work with an organization that was into telematics. And purely telematics was on the rise. And there was a lot of fleet level intelligence happening. Nowadays, we talk about ADAS, but back in the day, even driver safety was very paramount, right? So, what I did was that if ever there is, let's say, a fleet operator or a DCO is driver cum owner, right? If they ever get the insurance done from our organization, I will give them the GPS device, the telematics device for free. So that actually picked up pretty well. What it did was that think of it from two, three perspectives. Number one, from the fleet owner perspective, not only would the fleet owner know about where the fleet movement is, if there is a breakdown, how many steps or how many trips that vehicle is doing. On top of it, they will also know that the vehicle is insured at any given time. So all that was happening in the ICE industry. In the EV industry, nothing was happening. So what I did in that entry phase in 2018 is most of the Delhi NCR in the Indian market was revolving around L3 category of vehicles. L3 vehicles, you would know about the lead acid category vehicles used in the last mile delivery space, right? A lot of places where you guys are currently living, you must be seeing those vehicles that are used to pick people from, let's say, metro station or used within a close vicinity of about 15, 20 kilometers, right? L3 market was on a big boom. But at the same time, because the vehicle was not smart, people would have to lock the vehicles at their home. Sometimes they would just steal away the lead acid, right? So if you think of it from that direction, it was a very big problem to solve as to how an end driver who is, let's say, buying an asset of about 1.5 lakhs, they don't know about the security part of it. So when I entered the industry, I started giving them the GPS devices for free. And what I did was I spoke with 50, 60 OEMs pan India who were primarily making L3 vehicles. Most of them were getting it from China and then just getting assembled in India. And there were no real protocols around as to how this industry should shape, right? So my point again being my plinth being into getting into an industry which was still trying to find a way around. So my point again, and I'll reinforce this point and again, my intention is today's masterclass session is to ensure you that how you can enter the industry into the right time and how you can just figure out right opportunities based on your skill set that we'll talk about more, right? So while I got into the industry, I spoke with different OEMs. I started this bundling together. I got to know the know-how of the industry, and then came an opportunity with my current employer, Euler Motors. Right? They saw what I was doing because I was speaking with the entire industry as whole, and then I joined in as an institutional sales team. Right? It was a very core team of 15, 20 folks of us who were trying to make a company, I would say. So I was working directly with the founder, and then came the Eureka movement, right? We manufactured the first L5 for our company. A couple of people had already made an L5 vehicle. To talk about an L5 category of vehicle, it's a three-wheeler, but that doesn't really have a lead acid battery as a primary engine, but a proper lithium ion battery pack. It could be LFP, NMC, whatever, but it's more sturdy. The speed goes up to 45 kilometers hour, so it is RTO compliant. Most of the L3 category of vehicles are not RTO compliant, right? So L5 category of vehicles were the first category of vehicles that formed a way in the EV penetration. When we talk about EV penetration, we only talk about the rosy part of it, which is, let's say, the personal mobility, right? But the real shift, I would say, has happened in the cargo industry space. What people don't understand is that for cargo vehicles or commercial vehicles, their income is tied to the daily movement of these vehicles. It's not a luxury, right? Even if, let's say, if I don't take my car to my office, or I take a metro or a cab, it's okay for me. But for that operator who's owning that vehicle, one day of breakdown changes their life, because their daily income is tied to that vehicle. So that is what we pinpointed, and that is what we wanted to transform, is how we can get electrification done in the cargo space, because over there it's not about fancy ads and whims and fancies. It is about how you can support their income and make it better by introducing a smarter class of vehicles. So again, my journey, if you guys think about it, starting in the sales team, but there came a time when we made our first L5 category of vehicle, right? And then came an opportunity that for these vehicles to go out on road, there needs to be an active financing space available. Now, when I talk about financing, that is the most important pillar for these vehicles to go to the retail customer. Think about it. If you were to buy any category of vehicle, two-wheeler, three-wheeler, four-wheeler for that matter, at the end of the day, you only give a handful down payment, right? Apart from that, you also have to get the vehicle finance. Now, how the journey unfolds. When I was working in the bundling space of GPS and insurance, I was also working with the financiers pan India. Because for financiers to have visibility of their fleet with the help of a GPS device, it makes their life very easy. People call the financier and say that, boss, I've not been able to make money and my EMI will have to be postponed. But with the help of a GPS device, they will know actively how many kilometers is the vehicle running. And if the vehicle is running, they are definitely making money. So what I did, basis learning of my previous organization, I enticed the entire vehicle financing pan-India team into making financing easier for L5 category of vehicles, which was not happening in India. This is talking about 2020, 2021. And again, a lot of you users who are thinking to join the non-technical side, because I come from a non-tech side of business altogether, right? So my entire pedigree and entire focus area would be for folks who are looking to join, let's say, the non-tech side of EV domain. We can talk about the tech side as to what all it has to offer, right? But for any of you folks who want to get info and what to get insight as to how the non-tech industry works, I think I'd like to take this stage and just share across my learnings. So think about it. Vehicle financing, most important, but financiers, they do not know about the life of the battery pack. The life of the battery pack, because these vehicles are the first vehicles that are entering the market. What happens to these vehicles after 3 years, 5 years, for example? Would they still be running? Because financiers tie up a loan for a period of 4 to 5 years, right? So to convince the financiers as to how these vehicles are roadworthy at the end of the day was a big challenge. And that is something that we solved in the industry as a whole. A lot of organizations came in to join hands. We created multiple platforms as to how the financier will also be in a safe space if the end customer defaults on a payment, and what all support the manufacturer can provide to ensure that the end driver gets to earn money at the end of it. Right? So starting from, let's say, sales, getting into vehicle financing, then an opportunity came when I had to go outside abroad for my master's in Canada. And again, learners, this is what I'm trying to reinforce again. When I left India and I'd gone to Canada, I was again at my Plinth. I again was starting from scratch, right? I did not know where where my journey would go, just like a lot of you folks right there. But one thing smart that I would say that I did, and that is on the basis of my spouse who had recommended me, is I just went there and I spoke with Tesla. A lot of folks like you, and even for me, Tesla has been the mecca of EV industry, right? And all of my learnings that I took back in India, I spoke with Tesla, they found good. uh, talent in me, and they took me. So that's when my point came, when I also worked at Tesla in the non-tech side, in the business side. In the business side, I would say in the vehicle financing, sales, operations, all that side that I worked with for good 1.5, 2 years. Now, Tesla being a global giant, but within that industry, they were a small startup, I would say. The thinking, the mindset, the rush, they were the highest, and they still are the highest selling OEM or passenger vehicle pan India. They're just starting in India, but imagine the scale, right? So that trust of as to how they can be and remain the number one is the kind of information and the kind of attitude that you get from the employers. And taking that learning back again, when I had to come back to India, I had the opportunity, and of course, rejoined my old organization, and they were very happy to reinstate me. So I rejoined Euler Motors again, initially as a program manager, but when we launched our new product altogether, I took that important role into setting up the entire service network here, which is also very critical because selling a vehicle is easy, but creating a service network is more critical. So that was a little bit about me. That entire thing is about how you guys, wherever you start, don't think it is the end of it. Your careers, your path will always take you somewhere. All you have to do is pivot and navigate and understand that for any new organization, they're always looking out for talent, right? It is your responsibility to get into the line and make yourself out there to stand. Otherwise, just it's just not going to go anywhere. So just coming on to the next part, and I'll be happy to take, let's say, questions at the end of the round in the last 10, 15 minutes. Uh, in the interest of time, I'll just run with the slides that we have made. So, and we all know, like transport emissions impact in Delhi, we see the severe time, about 50% of the vehicles that are running are the major contributors of the pollution, right? And you get to see about it. Delhi has a lot of the problems in the winter time, and the vehicle movement gets really derailed. So it is a fact that ICE vehicles contribute a large portion, and that is why the shift is getting towards electric vehicles. So we all know that there is a problem, and we know there is a solution. At the same time, we also know there are challenges, and that is where folks like you can come in and contribute towards the industry. So tech advances, we know battery technology, charging infra, we all know this, that these are all still in a very nascent stage, I would say, and they are getting involved with time. So electric mobility, it's a comprehensive system, right? It has multiple pillars. So for the folks that are interested in the tech side of this industry, so you would say that these class of vehicles are nothing but these are battery on wheels, like this is a computer on wheels, as to say, because the battery in itself has multiple layers. So if you want to get into the battery technology, if you want to get into the software side of it, there are further sub layers. Whether you want to work on the BMS, or let's say if you want to work on the software side, so telematics, all of that takes into precedence. Now, the management of these vehicles, of course, is whether you want to have a service network set up, whether you want to have vehicle financing set up, right? Again, the same pillars that I'm trying to reinforce again and again. Charging technology, whether you do CCS or DC, or you want to do AC fast charge. We see a lot of people who buy these category of vehicles are not completely reliant on the network that is present. They charge it at home. So that is also one big piece that is there, right? Now, global EV leadership, how it is. So tech innovation, hardware, software integration, and supply chain efficiency. So when we talk about tech innovation, that these class of vehicles are the only class of vehicles that are reinventing the wheel altogether. If you ever go ride in EV, let's say commercial or personal vehicle, my first suggestion is go drive an EV first to feel it. If you guys are in the industry, go to a showroom, let's say be a passenger showroom, or go to any of the showroom that commercial vehicles, go demo it, experience it, see it for yourself how different it is. And you will realize that the kind of tech now that is being used in these set of vehicles is at par with ICE vehicles, right? And how is that possible? Because the entire hardware software integration is at leap compared to ICE category of vehicles. That is where you set of people come in. So again, if you want to get into the non-tech side of it, then there is a wide opportunity. If you want to get into a tech side of the roles, there are going to be central roles within the OEM, right, which are always happy to absorb a lot of talent. But you have to understand what is your calling. Supply chain efficiency again. So how these vehicles are made, because for any manufacturer, there are only two rules for making EV. Number one, there should be enough vehicles made. Number two, there should be enough vehicles sold. These are the only two golden rules for any OEM in the country. And when you break these two rules, you realize there is a big level of opportunity. So if you want to get into the building side of scheme, that how you make these vehicles, then there comes your tech side of problem, there comes your supply chain kind of a problem, there comes your uh, let's say SEM, right? Supply chain division, and then supply chain manufacturing, your vehicle financing, which comes on the other side. Okay. The next slide talks about the rapid growth of commercial EVs. So we know how these commercial EVs have started, and you would have seen a lot of EVs now being seen, because this is the first category of vehicle that has been absorbed and has outgrown the numbers of ICE category of vehicles. If you'd see, wherein, let's say, if CNG, diesel, petrol category of vehicles that were run for commercial are now being replaced by electric vehicles altogether, right? And most of them are now being used in the last mile delivery space. When I talk about last mile delivery space, it's a big space that has boomed up. So your Flipkart, Amazon, they have a mother warehouse where all the big trucks come and they store the goods. Mid mile is when, let's say, they start from the mother hub and they go into the regional hubs. That is a mid mile. Mid mile is still about 200, 250 odd kilometers. First mile is more than that. Let's say the manufacturing happens in one plant in north, and they have to reach Bangalore, which is, let's say, another 400 kilometers. The last mile is the most interesting space, because in the last mile delivery space, whatever you've ordered online has to be picked up from that hub and has to be delivered to you at your home. Now, your home could be, let's say, inside some small tight space. It could be societies. It could be your own house. And that is where a lot of job creation has happened lately. Because now, if you think of it from a DCO model, driver come owner, if you buy these set of vehicles, your daily run is very low. Your charging is taken care of, right? I'm sorry for this. Okay, perfect. So yeah, so last mile category space, and then ride hailing app we have seen. Even Uber had gone green. E-bus transport is on the right. Corporate fleets, we know the story around Blue Smart, right? When it had become so big. And then, of course, e-commerce delivery. So these are all different pillars of how these electric vehicles can be used. And you can always pick up an industry, but the backbone remains the same. What is that one part of the problem that you want to solve? Is it tech or non-tech? Is again that my entire narrative is around. Now, we know the benefits of fleet EVs. You would have learned, you would be more sustainable, cost efficiency, better in terms of TCO, more reliable, right? But the question is that how and what ingredients are needed to make these EVs beneficial? Now, those ingredients are, if you're talking about a tech space, right? So in terms of BMS, are you able to procure cells that are lower for production? Because this industry would go at par from IBIC. We know the cost of procurement of an EV is higher compared to ICE vehicle now, because economies of scale work. When manufacturers make more vehicles, the cost of procurement comes down. And that is where demand generation is very important. You would see Mahindra and Tata going berserk, and they are making a lot of EVs now, a lot of ads now, so that because until and unless a lot of people start buying vehicles, they will not be able to come at parity in terms of cost for end consumer. We have seen that the current problems happening in gas and oil. So these are always going to be there, and these problems are only going to go up. That is why the transition to electric vehicle is of most importance when we talk about it. Cost efficiency, reliability, sustainability, all these three pillars exist. But the question to address is, what are we doing in our own space? How are we contributing into the ecosystem so that the end consumer gets to benefit as a whole, right? What are the challenges? Infrastructure gaps, we know about it. Charging infrastructure is still on the rise. When I used to talk about Tesla, the reason why people were buying Teslas is because of their great charging infrastructure. I myself have gone on multiple trips within Canada without even thinking, gone to trips more than 1,500 kilometers. I would know that there would be a charger which would be present about 300 odd kilometers. I'll go from 20% to 18% in not more than 25 minutes. I'll just go grab a coffee and my vehicle is up. These are the kind of problems that had to be solved in the first place for the vehicle uptake to increase. Is it happening in India? I would say maybe. It's getting better. But still, I see a lot of Tata chargers that are still dysfunctional, right? You go there and you come for a shock. However, I've seen the industry getting better. A lot of new entrants, incumbents are getting into the industry and trying to bridge this gap of charging, which is the most important pillar, right? Plus, I've seen new opportunities. Think about it, guys. I've seen new companies coming in. And let's say if you ever have a charging problem and you run out of your EV, they'll come to you in case of breakdown and they'll provide charging then and there. So that is also an entrepreneurial way for you to think that can you help solve a problem in the first place and not just get into the problem and what others are doing. So charging life cycle issues, of course, a lot of folks that I know have now moved on and they have started working their own end of life battery chemical, let's say a lab, a laboratory, or they're setting up an industry altogether because we know that these set of vehicles will always have a residue life, right? They have charge cycles as to how many times do you charge and discharge these cells. And every time you do that, a little bit of efficiency goes down. So if you talk about it, we all know that heat is a problem for these lithium ion cells. But at worst, when I was back in Canada and the temperature would go up to minus 45 degree, I would just click on my mobile and the Tesla would charge up and it will warm up the entire body. The car would warm up and the entire snow would just melt away in about 5 minutes. So they have solved the practical life problems in a way wherein the end consumer does not feel that getting an EV would be a problem for them, be it terrain, be it battery, and but these are the problems that still exist. And since these problems exist, it is an opportunity for you folks to get into the industry to solve these problems. That is where the kind of talent is required. Wherein if you think that that is an issue that I want to solve for, it is a good time for you to get into the industry and solve. Okay, so service network drives success. Of course, that's very critical, right? So team, we always think about how fancy it is to buy and how we see numbers increasing. But the real moment of truth for these set of vehicles is when there is a breakdown. How we say Maruti Suzuki is the best OEM out there is because of their great service network. You know that if you buy a Maruti car for that matter, wherever you go in India, there would always be a workshop that can help you out, right? And that is what Tata and Mahindra have done lately so as to lock horns with Maruti Suzuki in those numbers. And that is what people like, let's say, VinFast, who is a new entrant in India. It's a Vietnamese-based OEM who has a plant in Tamil Nadu. They're trying to set up multiple authorized service workshops. So idea is sales can never have an uptime until and unless the service network is set up. That is very critical. And even for you folks, if you think about it, although service network might not fancy as, let's say, a tech role or a vehicle financing or a sales role, it is a very critical role and a backbone of the OEM. I've seen people who have gotten into, let's say, service network. They have seen their careers go because your kind of knowledge and your kind of pedigree is then very translatable. Whatever you pick up from there, you can always use it and make it better with time. So it's always an option for you to think of that side of the story also, right? Without a proper service network, without talent out there who understand the vehicles, who can do run diagnostics, who know about the vehicle, whether they know there is a DC-DC problem, whether they know there is a problem in the BMS, whether they know about how to use PCAN tools, run diagnostics, there is no way for these EVs to run because most of the vehicles are now OTA, right? So over the air, you get the updates. You need technicians who are smart. And I take like good credibility as to the talent that are coming in these days, be it ITI, diploma. I hope that they are teaching about how the uptime is important, right? And that is where folks like DIY Guru also come in, that they talk about how you can get into the industry. So some of the core EV technology stack, we talk about battery systems, electric powertrains, charging network, energy management system. You guys are aware about all this, right? Battery systems, so about BMS. So how do we ensure that the vehicle and the battery pack that is using, let's say, an LFP or an MC continues to give good voltage to these cells? Electric powertrain, of course, it must be in all of your sessions. So while you know about it, I want to show you the part as to how you can get into it. How you get into it, there are a lot of startups like ours and the other organizations out there who are trying to build these vehicles are always looking out for talent who understands the nitty-gritty of that entire specific domain. So my only advice to you folks would be is to just pinpoint and understand that what is your calling. What is that one piece of the problem that you think you can solve for? It is okay to pick an entire domain. Let's say if you want to get into the EV technology stack, so my suggestion would be just pick up one domain. If it's something, let's say fleet telematics that you're interested in, go deep into it. Or for my non-tech folks who want to get into, let's say, vehicle financing, sales, service, supply chain, pick up that one piece that you think that you know and that you would want to solve. This is what the industry is requiring, because every single piece in itself is so deep and so core that maybe today's scope would not be enough. But the advice is just identify your calling, is what the idea is. Opportunities in EV sector, like I've been talking about, engineering, battery technology, charging infrastructure, supply chain, end of life battery pack. And then there is plant operations, right? That how do you ensure that the vehicles are being made 365 days, and then that entire battery line, because a lot of these cells are being procured, but they are made in-house by a lot of OEMs, right? So you need people who understand the battery part. You understand that how the cell assembly goes into the picture. EV engineering, because we have talked a lot about it, as to whether you want to get into the powertrain side, you want to get into the hardware or the software. There is a huge, huge demand and influx. It's just about getting yourself out there and letting the OEM or the hiring know that you are available for such an opportunity. Charging infrastructure, a lot of third-party players are setting up their own charging infra, but at the same time, we are seeing with the launch of the new Grand E Vitara from Maruti, they're all setting up a charging infra by themselves. So huge, huge opportunity there also, because now when the big pillars are getting into the industry, they are making the industry more welcoming for end consumers to bridge that gap for their initial problem of getting confidence into buying this set of asset class. So identify your calling, understand, go deep into that one specific space. Because whenever you will go for, let's say, a round of interviews, it will not be on the top layer. It will have to go very deep down as to what your understanding is. So, okay, growth of EV industry jobs. I started maybe a little bit earlier than 2021, and that has been my plinth, that I was there at the right place at the right time, so I could help grow in the industry, right? But it's just not that late, and the EV industry is going at a huge demand. It is up to you that how you understand that what problem and what role that you have to solve for. So maybe when it comes to the question answer round, I can understand more as to how you guys want to shape up. And then, yeah, I can take more questions there. Skills for AV professionals. Apart from all this system thinking, technical knowledge, data analytics, I think what is more important is that you as a learner should always be open to upgrade yourself with the new set of know-hows that are happening in the industry. That is very, very critical, right? When we talk about system thinking, it's about thinking from the first principles. What it means about thinking from the first principle is that wipe out whatever is there in the dictionary, whatever is there textually in your narrative, whatever is there theoretically. Go back to the drawing board and think about it as to if you were to create it from scratch. That is what is known as first principles of thinking, right? So think about it from my own example when we were making our own fleet of oiler vehicles, right? And I remember we used to go and speak with Flipkarts and Amazons of the world. I think there is some disturbance. Okay, yeah, it's better now. When we go and speak with Flipkarts and Amazon and big baskets of the world, they would always tell us that these set of vehicles, they would just won't run. They will not carry load. The range would be limited, right? They cannot have trust on these set of vehicles. They will not be at par with the ICE vehicles. What we did is that we made a set of proto vehicles. We gave them to run for, let's say, a good period of 6 months. We got feedback, not just number one. We also showed them how their operations were better in terms of TCO, with the daily cost of running had come down. Because had we not done with the first proto set of vehicles, the entire transitioning and confidence wouldn't have been there. So I'm reiterating, first level thinking, first principles thinking is very important in whatever space that you guys are in. Go back to the blackboard and think that if I have to solve for this set of problem, what do I do today? What has not been done? And how do I bridge this gap? And that is where you start thinking in a systems level thinking, right? Technical how that is present there, like for folks in terms of new advances, the information is out there. You just have to understand more, deep dive more into, let's say, technology, battery, charging infra, end of life, everything exists. So you have to understand and you have to find your calling. Is again, I'm going to reiterate. And data analytics is a big, big part. These vehicles are nothing but computers on wheels, right? So every little movement that is happening, and I've seen it first by myself, because what Tesla does in terms of autonomous driving, guys, it's nothing that you have experienced. In order to give your entire control to a computer and then they navigate in traffic or run at 120 kilometers per hour on a highway, it's just terrific. It's about, let's say, level 4 ADAS, right? So at the same time, what all ingredients go into making that battery on wheels or a computer on wheels efficient? And that is where a lot of data is pulled out in your daily driving habits. And that is what all EV players are also doing. With the smart BMS, with the smart VCU, right, the vehicle control unit, we understand that as to how your driving pattern is. We understand how much kgs that you're carrying in your load body and how much of that is affecting your end of life battery, right? If the range efficiency is happening, we know that what all reasons would be there to support that, because it's a smart vehicle. Can we say that for an ICE category vehicle? No, we just cannot, because there's nothing to monitor those set of data points. So I'm reiterating, you have to understand that what part of industry is something that you have a calling for. By domain, of course, this chart focuses more about the tech, embedded, battery and energy system, motor and powertrain, design and simulation, charging infra, data and software. This is all the brain of the vehicle, right? For the legs of the vehicle that I say, the non-tech part, again reiterating, vehicle financing, sales, service, supply chain. And within each layer, there are multiple sub-layers. Is what you have to understand as to what is your calling. Within our organization and other organizations as a whole, I've seen a lot of new talent come in fresh out of college, but they have good, well, fresh ideas as to how we can move away from what the automotive and the automobile has been imagined in the last couple decades, and what the new automotive or automobile should be. Even for us, let's say we are the first one who have introduced ADAS in a commercial vehicle, right? That was never imagined, for that matter. So all these new ideas that are happening in the industry is only because of the fresh talent that is coming in with their own set of first principles. Key takeaways: EV engineers must innovate, problem solving, interdisciplinary skills. Interdisciplinary skills, very important, because the skills that you will get today will not just be limited to one space, but it will be multifaceted. So you'll not only, let's say, learn about one aspect, but a lot of different aspects as a whole. And you can understand this from my own journey, starting from sales, setting up the vehicle financing, handling the entire operations, then coming back as a program manager, and now setting up the entire service network. So it's the sky is the limit, right? So you just have to understand your calling, and you have to be present at it, because until unless the drive, the hunger is there to solve real world problems, it will all just fizzle out. Of course, platforms like DIY Guru really help you out in terms of knowledge base. But at the same time, I would say, guys, these platforms will only help you solve one part of the problem. The most important part of the problem is to make yourself uh, available where the job seekers require you to be. There are a lot of openings happening up, especially in the EV domain. It is up to you guys to show up there, be it interviews, be it live forums, be into, let's say, calls that were happening today. These are very relevant for anyone who's seeking to upskill in their current career or get into the industry as a whole, right? Because platforms like DIY Guru can only help you to a certain extent. All it comes down on is, again, if you're at your plinth, go up, show up to the employer, tell them what all you carry, and then it only can happen, right? Again, another
Harshit sir,
slide. Yes.
sir, this is Yaman here. Extremely very sorry to disturb you in your presentation, but sir, I got a class, another class at 9 o'clock, and
Sure.
I wish to take 2 minutes of your time, sir. I am a professional. I manufacture batteries. Okay, I manufacture
Sure.
lithium batteries for EVs and for various other purposes.
Mhm.
And listening to your lecture, what I find with my personal experience, because I am a guy who has even converted vehicles to electric. I have converted
Oh, nice.
Toyota Etios, two Toyota Etioses to electric, keeping one hybrid, keeping the gas engine and electric
Got it.
motors together, and one was purely electric, right? So,
Great.
basically in India, what I feel is that we should promote battery swapping. If you want to grow the e-mobility sector, or you want the, distribution chain to adapt to EV network, because the basic problem right now is in a city, if you are doing 5 rides and if your battery goes away, that is not going to help
Mhm.
you on a longer run. Instead, if you got a swappable battery, wherever your battery is dead, nearby, if there is a station, you go there, scan a QR, get a new fresh battery, poke in this battery into your this thing. So the government also needs to, take certain initiatives, as in, EV manufacturers, the battery size, the box has to be this much. Everybody is designing boxes as per their need. That is not going to again help to, make things on a common platform. That is
I
one
would
part
say,
of the story.
I think
Second
in
thing
terms
is
of,
that as far as
yes, Yaman.
EVs are concerned, and as far as the manufacturing here in India is concerned, you see, you have been to Canada, I've been to China, I have seen the whole industry, right, from the grassroots level, and
Mhm.
nobody is manufacturing anything. Let us be very clear, okay? Nobody is manufacturing anything. Everything is being assembled. All you get is CKD, completely knocked down material, and things are, set up. That is how the thing is working here. As far as embedded systems and the computer guided systems go, what I feel in India, we should have EVs that are, less of software driven. It can be, made in a way that it is easy to, service those EVs. If the systems are very complicated, like for example, Ola. If you have a Ola, you have got no way to diagnose what the problem is if at all that scooter is showing scooter error. वो उन्हीं का एप्लीकेशन है, उन्हीं के एप्लीकेशन में जाकर के आप जब तक लॉगिन नहीं करोगे कोई काम नहीं होगा. So this kind of monopolistic approach needs to come down, or there has to be, certain scanners which are able to easily identify the problems, or the scanners that are available in the market, OBD2 port type scanners. They can help you know as far as navigating through the error, where exactly the error is. It is in the VCU, or is it into the motor controller, or is it into the BMS, where exactly the issue is. So these are few points I wish to put forward to you, sir.
I
And
think
one more thing, that a platform like DIY Guru, when you are taking these classes, we would highly appreciate when you want to make a service engineer, we need to provide them notes. Now, I am a guy who has done everything myself. So I have got my own handwritten notes prepared for different vehicles. But same thing, like if a platform like DIY Guru, if they can do it and give it to the people who are taking the courses into service engineering of EV vehicles, that would be tremendous help to those who are like non-technical background.
Hello, sir. I am Anand, sir. Sir, instead of these removable batteries, we can use the fast charging, no, sir. Because China is developing on fast charging. Within 9 minutes, they are even huge batteries also charging within 9 minutes or 10 minutes, no, sir.
You are absolutely correct, Anand, sir. I would like to throw some light on this, sir. I started manufacturing batteries in 2018, but before that, I have got 10-year research on lithium batteries. And my research suggests that you charge the battery slowly, it is good. If you are going to fast charge the battery, okay, you will get, your battery full within say 10 minutes or 20 minutes. And like Harshit sir, he has been to, he has even driven Teslas. He knows about Tesla. 10 minutes and it is like, you can charge your vehicle in 10 minutes. That fast there. But then eventually what happens is you cut down on your life cycles of the batteries. These batteries are 60%.
Sir, instead of lithium-ion batteries, we are getting solid-state batteries like upgrade technology, na, sir. Because if you use removable batteries, the battery sizes and capacity is very small, na, sir. That's why it is difficult to roam long ranges, sir. That's why we can use a fast charging also, na, sir.
We can use fast charging, or we can build a
Yes, sir.
battery with a
Right
higher
now,
capacity.
Mahindra also right now they are doing R&Ds on fast charging like 180 kilowatt.
But see, eventually you have to understand one thing. If you are charging the battery that fast, whether you have a solid state battery or you have got a lithium titanium oxide battery, okay, that battery is going to lose life cycles. That is for sure.
Okay.
There are certain processes in these lithium chemistries, something known as dendrite formation. There are hair-like structures which grow from the cathode and the anode, okay? And the more degradation of the battery, more of these structures you see on the cathode and anode. And the worst part of the story, the separator is porous. If the hairs that are poking through the separator, either from the cathode or from the anode, if they touch in between, that is going to create a physical short circuit, and that is the base cause where you might have heard many mobile phones are blasting. Somebody put the mobile phone in the back pocket and they sat down and that thing exploded. So these things, that causes an internal short circuit, and the result is a thermal runaway.
I think a couple of great pointers, Yaman, that you have shared and touched upon different topics, typically around the battery retrofitting, right? There have been companies like eTrio who have tried to do from CNG to EV, and somehow they haven't been able to find good success. At the same time, there are companies like Sun Mobility who have already been running, let's say, into battery swapping kind of a mechanism. There have been three-wheeler players also who have done both a fixed battery pack plus transferable battery pack system. Right? Everything is better for the industry. It's about calling. But I still feel having a fixed battery pack somehow kind of takes the entire equation better, because if you have a battery pack that is removed from the vehicle, which is the main arm, that think about it in terms of the financier who is financing the vehicle, right? How do they finance a vehicle when they know if the battery is taken out and if there is, let's say, a loss or a theft? That is also what the industry has seen a lot. So that has been a big derailment. But at the same time, for the end consumer, if they know they have to do multiple trips, and if there is no charging station around, they can just go, it'll take hardly 2 minutes. They take out the battery and get a new battery, and they go. And that is happening in Pan India. I've seen a lot of battery swapping stations come up, and I've seen a lot of them dying also lately, because it always comes about whether there are players who are supporting the industry or the movement or not. Right now, what Anand was saying, that why are we not moving towards, let's say, 8 minutes or 9 minutes? See, Anand, these things will only happen when a lot of folks like you and me start transitioning towards electric vehicle procurement in the first place, right? If you move towards EV vehicles, if you ditch away from your ICE category of vehicles, it creates a downward pressure on the OEM or the CPOs, the charge providers themselves, to have the infrastructure available. And that is where the government push is very high. So with FAME 2 and now E-Drive, PME Drive scheme, there is a constant push to get this
TPS 2.
infra, right? So, but very, very solid points. I mean, I think this is the call of the industry, wherein we must move towards processes and solutions which are faster and more dynamic compared to what has
Or
been
either
happening.
like, even if we adapt the approach taken by Europe, since now India is having a free trade agreement with European countries. I think it was Switzerland or which the city, I am forgetting the name right now, sir, but they had come up with the local city transport, which was a commuter bus, which is like two buses joined together. It's a trailer bus basically, and that trailer bus is operated on it's a EV, but it is operated on super capacitors. It is not operated on a battery. It does not have a battery bank. What it has got is, it has got a super capacitor bank. Once charged, it takes 20 seconds to charge, okay, and it runs for 30 kilometers. Now in a city kind of a thing, even big cities like Bangalore, like Chennai, like Delhi, Mumbai, 30 kilometers is a way big range wherein you've got many stops in between. So what happens is, basically when the gates open, there is a pantograph that goes in the above charging section, and within 20 seconds that entire pack is charged, full, and then those capacitors are helping the bus to run for a longer distance. If this kind of technology is adapted, that can be a great leap ahead, I would say, as far as the propagation to EV from ICE vehicles is concerned in India. And one more thing, the vehicles, right now, what people are now, Mahindra BE6, BE9, what is it? Have you ever opened a BE6 or a BE9? I have. I opened my own neighbor's vehicle. I forced him that, say, anything goes wrong, I am responsible. तू तेरा गाड़ी मेरे को खोलने दे, नहीं तो ये गाड़ी तेरे पास इधर रहेगा नहीं, मैं टायर निकाल के लेके जाऊंगा रात को. उसको दादागिरी किया थोड़ा मैं. And what is it? It is BYD. It is pure BYD. The motor, the controller, the battery, is everything is BYD. They call it blade battery, but now what is a blade battery? It is the last.
I think we have lost Yaman there. But yeah, some good pointers. And in the interest of time, I think
Yes, sir. We
if
came
anybody
some
has
more
any doubt,
knowledge. Yes, sir. We got more knowledge, sir.
it's good to know, Anand. And
Sir, I will
whatever
speak in
couple minutes
Hindi.
left,
Sir, you said that you have given the suggestion that GPS is mandatory in the vehicles in early days. So instead of using the GPS, we can use also central locking, sir. It is very the motor will be locked using central locking, and also it can
back in
sound
the day,
sir.
There was no motor, and then this was 2017-18, and even these were only lead acid battery packs, right? It wasn't even lithium ion. So only lately we have moved away from lead acid battery pack. But think about 2017-18, right? When the lead acid battery pack would be stolen out of the vehicle. So that GPS device was just uh, not even a part of the battery pack. It was somewhere in the VCU, hiding under the driver's seat so that they have visibility.
Okay,
But
okay, sir.
yes,
Thank you.
happy to take any other questions from the limited time. If anybody has, yeah, Dr. Prithviraj, if you have anything to say, I think you have your hand raised. Or anybody for that matter.
Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
Ashish. Yeah,
Yes, sir. Sir, I am in this automobile domain from past 2 decades.
that's great.
Okay, and I want to switch this in electric domain because a lot of cars are now. I watch a
And
lot of cars on the
what
road
are
with
you
EVs.
working in? What is your current role?
Currently, I'm working in Tata Motors and EV department, and like in Tata Motor dealership,
Okay. And what do you do in the dealership?
and as an advisor, service advisor.
Service advisor. Okay.
Yeah, and so I want to gain more and more knowledge because, but I want
Mm-hmm.
actually I want to switch my career in a battery management domain, battery
Okay.
packaging. But can I enter in this domain because my age is right now 45, sir?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you come up with more experience than most of the fresh folks who are trying to get in. See, even at 45, if it's your plinth, just don't forget that whatever you have learned in the last 15, 20 years will add a lot of value for, let's say, any of the
Okay,
OEM out there. Even if you think about us, we have a lot of folks who are in their late 40s in our battery plant manufacturing team, which is based out of Haryana in Palwal. So a lot of folks like you who have been into the service industry, in the ICE industry, are now getting and helping us with the battery lab creation altogether. Because any of your past experience does not get void. It only adds value, Ashish.
That is
okay,
very true. And see, age is never a bar to, start anything new. Never be like, underconfident about your own self. You can definitely do it. God has already installed the software. You need to consider that, yes, it is there. You need to come to know that, yes, it is there.
Yaman sir, suppose I want to go for in battery manufacturing company like Tata Motors or like Revolt, that kind of a company.
Correct,
Um,
sir.
I can go there now. There is no
You
age
can
bar, sir.
definitely go. You can definitely go. And see, there is nothing a person cannot learn.
Okay,
That is my live example. I have been talking about batteries, and Harshit sir, he said that what I said was correct, right? Now, if you guys will listen to my background, you will be shocked. I am a BA with industrial psychology, and I have done my post graduation in criminology and correctional management. With that second degree of mine, I could help the national agencies, I could help the police department, the CBI, the ED, and all these, law enforcement structures. But then it did not give me bread and butter. I could help my nation, or I could help my law enforcement machinery to function a little bit better than what they are doing actually, but that did not give me bread and butter. The technological part was installed in me right from childhood. And fourth standard, I could make a working radio, receiver. I even worked with a private FM, 93.5 Red FM. I was a senior sound cum broadcast engineer over there. But with this qualification, and I set up those stations, and entire responsibility technical was on my shoulders. So you can definitely do it. The only core thing that you need to understand is that, you need, you need to have love towards the subject. If you love
dedication
the
and interest.
subject, you develop interest into it, you get deep into it, right?
Yes, sir.
So there is no nothing should stop you from growth. It is always good, and you can definitely do whatever you like. or you can any point of time, connect to me through the groups or anything. If as far as
Sure.
battery is concerned or as far as vehicle servicing, EV vehicle servicing is concerned, I'll try to help any student from DIY group.
All right.
Hello.
So on that note,
Thank you, sir.
Shreyansh, I think we can call it a day, or is there anything else?
Harshit
Sir,
sir, it was a wonderful
Yeah,
lecture. Thanks a lot for your time.
no,
Thanks a lot for sharing very beautiful things.
thank you, Yaman sir. Thank you.
I'll
Thank
be
you.
joining the next class.
Thank
So
you.
goodbye, everyone.
Oh, thank you, sir.
yeah. Thank you, Yamanji, for your great insights with students. Okay.
Thanks
My
for
pleasure, sir.
your
My pleasure.
So for Mr.
thanks for
Harshit, if
valid
anyone has
information,
any
sir.
questions, sorry.
Okay.
Thanks a lot for your industry information, sir. It's very useful to us. Thanks a lot once again.
Thank
It's
you.
a pleasure.
Thanks, guys. Have a good evening.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Harshit, for sharing such valuable insights on EV systems and industry expectations. So I hope this session is insightful for everyone because we have a lot of experienced ones between us. And before leaving, I request everyone to please fill out the attendance form and the certification link there. You can generate your certificate from that link. And once again, thank you, Mr. Harshit, for your time and precious insights.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Shreyansh. Thank you, everyone joining in. Have a good evening.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank you,
everyone,
sir.
and everything.
Thanks a lot. Thanks to everyone.
Yeah. If anyone has any doubt, they can drop at support@diyguru.org. I am sharing the email ID at the chat box. Our team will directly connect with them and schedule a one-to-one session.